Hello, I'm Cameron Beer, and my favourite foreign equine product is Muscle Max. Muscle Max is absolutely amazing for keeping the muscles healthy when in work. I have specifically loved using this product when I'm bringing horses back into work after they've had a break or perhaps been off with a bit of an injury, or actually even post-surgery when you've got a horse doing a bit of a rehab. It has been absolutely brilliant knowing when they're using muscles they haven't used for a while, they are supported in their muscle growth and really knowing that their muscles are in the best condition to cope with the work they're doing. So Muscle Max is definitely a go-to.
Listeners, welcome to one of the most anticipated preview shows of the year because it is CHIO Aachen week and we have got the eventing preview show brought to you by SAPD. I don't think we can quite, one, believe it's July, but two, put together actually just how competitive Aachen is, because for every year we go back with one of the strongest fields that we see at this level of competition, and it almost feels like we have a mini Olympics. Like, it is the most extraordinary venue and it is fiercely competitive. This year's no different.
It's a little bit different. I mean, it's not. I'm on the train with you. Like, look, you do previews. Sometimes you have to get onto the hype train. Sometimes you've got to find an angle. I still think it's a class competition because you've got a chance to see FischerChipmunk at home. Oh, rider and horse who excel at the venue. Rider and horse who are probably favourites for the Olympics this summer, Nicole, without trying to do every podcast or every preview in the context of what happens in Paris. I'm very conscious of that. Like, these events like Aachen don't really need a Paris context, but the reality of this is FischerChipmunk is here. FischerChipmunk is favourite. FischerChipmunk is not taking on London 52. He's not taking on Banzai de Loire. He's not taking on JL Dublin, horses that all took each other on here this time last year. So I don't want to rain on the parade early, but I do think it's a slightly different Aachen. You're trying to be honest and find different angles, different ways into the competition. What makes it special? There's horses here making breakthroughs. There's horses here with pressure on them like Michael and FischerChipmunk. It's an amazing competition. It's an amazing collection of horses to take on the challenge that is Aachen, the speed, the return of Chris Burton. We're going to find all these different stories in here, and by the end of it, I think I'll be excited. But I've got to work my way through that and into that, if I'm being honest with you, which is I got to find out and pull apart this competition and put it back together in a way that I don't think I have to every year, if that makes sense. Because I don't think this is a mini Olympics in a way that I think maybe last year was. That's my gut feeling at the start of the show. Come back to me at the end. I think I'll be there, but I'm just being honest. That's where I feel at the beginning.
No, I think, to be fair, I think you're probably right, because this time last year there were a number of the big hitters sort of for an individual medal actually going up against each other outside of a championship, which we don't see very often. This year, the team of horses and riders from Germany are kind of it's like an unofficial, or maybe it is an official final German Olympic trial, like all of the big German hitters are here. And actually, while they've announced kind of their 3 plus some sort of different levels of riders that are coming in the reserve lists, actually it feels like it could change this weekend. A big performance actually could swing things slightly. So I think for me, Germany are the biggest threats to Team GB for a gold medal in
Are
Paris.
they?
Yeah, definitely. 100%.
No.
Who's the biggest threat for you?
America.
Oh, I would have said America, but I don't think they've got horses capable of being low enough in the first phase to be the biggest threat right now. Don't get me wrong, they've got a great chance of a medal, whereas Germany have got horses that actually can get down in the low 20s, teens territory that I don't think the US are fielding. Oh, it's so good. Like, you can feel it. I can see
but we
him.
We can't get
Listeners, I can see him. He started this being like, yeah, no, it's not mini Olympics. It's not, but you can see him getting excited. He's getting Aachen fever already.
Oh, yeah, no, I am really looking forward. I'm always really looking forward to Aachen. Do you want us to, I don't have your agenda in front of me, so I'm going to just meander my way through this and you can keep me going on track. But where would you like to start? I always like starting a little bit of a look to last year as well. I know I just want to keep that going because I think it's always helpful for people. One of the first things that I ask you when we're prepping these shows is always, let's just talk through last year and get ourselves back into the buzz and excitement of it. Like I remember watching the cross country Saturday morning in Aachen. And the whole place stops, Nicole, for the cross country. Like,
Do you
it's a
know what?
totally different buzz than the jumping. The jumping is a great buzz, but it's honestly the eventers watch the jumpers, but they don't really care. The jumpers 100% watch the eventers. Like, there is a kind of a rivalry there. Is there not a rivalry, but like they're
I
kind of
think
like
it's like
they don't
friendly
really care.
competition, isn't it? Like they have massive respect for each other, but
Don't know if it's massive. It's like medium respect for each other.
It's sort of mediocre respect. So last year, Yazingham became the first ever British winner of Aachen, which is hard to believe. When you think of the great horse and riders that have gone for Team GB, none of them have managed what Yaz managed last year. But it was an unbelievably dramatic
finish,
sort of 3 phases and finish. The final 5 horses out on course was absolute chaos. It was just drama after drama. Will Coleman was well placed. He had 20 penalties under pressure. Yazingham was actually, because we also have the team element here, which I absolutely love. So you have the SAP Cup as well. And so how they run it is reverse order of merit. But I'm pretty certain last year what they did is they did it reverse order of merit in terms of the team riders. So you had a rotation of team riders. So Yaz was actually third going into the cross country. She'd led the dressage. She'd had 2 time penalties in the show jumping, which is 5 seconds, listeners. I mean, I think she was kicking herself quite significantly after that. So she'd dropped to third. But because she was actually the second best placed of the British riders, Tom McEwen was the leader going into the cross country. She actually came forward a little bit earlier than sort of third from last. And so she went out, delivered one of the fastest rounds of the day, kind of put the pressure on everybody else, and then just sat back and watched chaos completely unfold as like Will Coleman had a problem. Sandra Orforth went round and picked up a good number of time penalties, which dropped her well out of contention. And she's had a great Aachen record. Be interesting to talk about the dynamic for her and Environmental Mats here this weekend, actually. Then Michael Young went out on course and came home and was 1 second too slow and went behind Yaz on the leaderboard. So then it was guaranteed a British winner. Tom McEwen was last on course and he also had 20 penalties. And it's at that fence, Dee. Can you remember the one where horses like Samurai Duto, Yulia Krajewski have had problems in the past, and I think Ingrid and Halebob as well, with all of the driving obstacles around it. And there's sort of so much to look at, and it's always a real accuracy question. It was there.
I remember the Bobby one so well.
His heart's still breaking, listeners.
I'm doing I got Rosa one of those, quite expensive if I may say so, you know those books at badminton that you can get like what am I not allowed to say they're expensive?
No, I was going to say I could have given you one.
Did you get one?
I had one, yeah, and I could have given it to you.
Oh yeah, well, and you know, you fill in the card, like you fill in so I had to pick a horse name.
Did you
for
pick
Rosa?
Bobby?
Well, I don't know whether to go with Mr. Bass or Bobby.
And you went with Bobby?
I haven't decided yet.
Oh.
Didn't work the first time, so I got a refund. Have to do it again. So I've got another opportunity to choose. I think it is Bobby, though, isn't it?
I think it's got to be Bobby.
Like I love him so much.
You've always loved Halebob,
and he brought me on such an adventure. Like
I tell you what, he's had. I mean, Halebob's had an Aachen adventure.
Oh,
we're on the Aachen adventure. Can you remember he became the first winner to knock a pole as well? But
that was such an important day for Eckritons. That was actually involved. Was that Mr. Bass? Was that involving Mr. Bass?
I don't think so.
Because it was Laura who led going into the cross country that day. Oh, was that big horse?
With De Capo. Probably.
No, not De Capo. Grand Maneuver. Not De Capo, surely.
Would it have been Grand Maneuver? Would have been a few years ago.
Sure, Bobby would have been a few years ago.
True,
These are
very
not,
true.
De Capo wouldn't have been. De Capo would have been.
De Capo's been second at Aachen.
No, this horse I'm talking about ran out at the last corner. Laura led going cross country.
Wasn't that London?
Gee, was it London? Maybe it might have been London. You might be right. I think actually that might have been the coming of age of London. I think London. You're right, Nicole. London did like a 20. It was one of their first ever dressage tests.
He did a 22.9 in 2000. It was 2019. Did a 22.9.
That's it.
And it was just before the main arena, before they go through the chute.
That's it. You know, though, London had never really delivered a dressage test, anything like that before. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't think it was anything like that, but I think it was a bit of it might have been a career I think it was her best ever test at Aachen since Ray F, and one of her best ever 4-star tests since Ray F.
It was his best international test in his career to that point. He'd done a 23.1 at Byrne Market and at Buccolo the years previous.
Okay, so not.
But it was still his best test. It was still his best test.
Yeah, thanks, Nicole.
We'll take it. 22.9.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, literally 2 marks there.
It's fine. It was still better. Still better. You were right.
That was a brilliant Aachen. Sorry, we're going down memory lane, but that's part of the fun of these previews. Bobby has taken us on some adventures. Bobby kind of retired here last year, if I'm not mistaken. I remember I spoke to Ingrid. You know, I probably actually still have that interview on my phone. I never released it. Yeah.
What? You got an interview with Ingrid and then didn't release it? Do you just listen to it at night? Do you go to sleep?
Make me sound like a weirdo.
No, but like listening to Ingrid talk about Bobby.
Again, it will be weird.
So I would say, if we're talking about how legendary Bobby is, he holds 3 of the top 7 finishing scores in Aachen. Ingrid actually holds 4 of the top 7 finishing scores in Aachen. Escada has the best ever finishing score, 21.4. That's the record. Then you've got Sandra Orforth, Opgun Luvo, 22.5 in 2014, the year they went on to win the World Championships. Then Ingrid and Hale Bob, 23. Oh, in fact, no, beg your pardon. Yes, no, I'm right. I did calculate it correctly. Michael Young, Labia Statique Sam, 23.1. Chris Burton, we can talk about him. Holstein Park Leilani finished on a 23.7 back in 2013. And then you've got Sam and 2 Bobby scores in there. He's pretty much been a bit of an Aachen legend. 3-time winner, the only horse to win 3 Aachens. He won it in 2015, 2017, 2019. Pretty extraordinary. We've got a former winner back in the field this year because FischerChipmunk won it back in 2018 with Julia Krajewski. Hasn't won it with Michael Young, has been second with Michael Young, but hasn't won it.
Sorry, Bobby only won 2. Bobby only won 2, isn't that right?
No, didn't he win 3?
No.
Oh no, he won 2. Beg your pardon.
He won 2. Yeah, he won the 2017 and the 2019, and I think he was second to 2015.
Beg your pardon. Has anybody won 3?
Well, Ingrid has won 3.
Oh, Ingrid's the first. Okay.
Has Ingrid won 4? I think, is Ingrid the first person to win 4?
No, I think she's won 3.
Ingrid Limke. She's not even riding there this year.
No, it's sad, isn't it?
She'll be there with, she's riding whatever dress that she's doing. Franciscus,
but not in the eventing, which is sad.
Yeah, sorry, you're right. She was first and second in 2015.
Correct. And then she won it in 2017 with Hale Bob, and she won it in 2019 with Hale Bob.
It's some run, isn't it?
Oh, it's incredible.
Do you think that's Ingrid at her peak? Is Ingrid like finished with eventing, do you think? Like, has she gone past her peak?
I think
they were amazing years when you think Escada,
Hale
Bob. Escada, Hale Bob.
They were the 2. But I mean, she was...
Who else was there? I mean, I know she came off Butts of Braxis. That was kind of not my era.
I think Escada and Hale Bob were the 2.
Oh, you know, she had that horse. Did she have that grey horse that she won the Leon on?
No. Cascamara?
No.
Visaduna.
Visaduna, that was it. Yeah, that kind of wild Aachen that she won on.
Yeah, I mean, she's had some really lovely horses. She had Sleep Late. I'm sure she had Sleep Late back in the pre-Butts Abraxas days. But in terms of eventing, I mean, I would have thought that it was Cascamara that won a Lilion as well as, and then she's had Visaduna won Lilion, and then we've not really seen, her at the very, very top. Asha P has kind of been knocking on the door, but not really.
I tell you what, if Asha P had stayed sound, I even wonder, how history would have been different if she never had that fall at Barbarocco. That fall at Barbarocco kind of broke her back in a weird way. I don't know what it did. I think it was her back, wasn't it? Broke like her ribs in her back or something. She had a fall.
Pre-Protoni, wasn't it?
Yeah, but it took her out of a world championship when she was still peaking. Was it Rio? Or sorry, was it Tokyo?
Well, maybe it was Tokyo.
I'm trying to think because she was peaking at the time. She was at the...
She had RF Tabasco as well, who was very good. who then went on to Marilyn
Better
Little.
with Marilyn Little, wasn't it?
No, I think Ingrid won plenty of World Cup qualifiers back in the day, like 3 stars with the horse, as they were 4 stars. Right, let's go back. We've just gone down Ingrid rabbit hole, listeners, and we need to get back on track to Aachen this year. First of all, let's start with the favourite in the prediction centre, Michael Jung, FischerChipmunk. Fun fact for you, Dee.
Go on.
Michael Jung has been to Aachen in the eventing since 2008, and I bet he went in 2007, actually. I'll go and have to look that up. 19 times. He's completed all 19 of them.
How does that work? 19 times.
So it'll be his 20th run this year. But what I was actually going to go on to say is he's won twice. However, he's only been out of the top 10 twice from 19 runs in Aachen.
I'm not trying to do this down, but how can you ride more than one horse in Aachen?
You can if you're German. Yeah, you can. You can ride more than one horse. But the German squad tend to get more places, don't they? So he would have ridden.
So he had like 2 per year.
Yeah, like he's got 2 this year, for example.
He's had 2. Oh yeah, okay. He's had 2. He 2 multiple years there. Oh, he had this same combination in 2022, the Kilcandra Ocean Power and FischerChipmunk. Okay. Sorry for doubting you. I was having one of those, like, you can only ride one moment.
No, but to be fair, most other nations would only be able to do that. Like, it's pretty special.
Do you want have you got that list in front of you?
Of Michael Young's?
Yeah, don't look at it if you do. I was going to give you a little.
Oh no, I've gone off it, so go for it.
All right, off the top of your head, how many can you name?
Okay.
Michael Jung at Aachen.
Sam, Chipmunk.
Okay, that's 2.
River of Joy 4.
3.
Kilcandra Ocean Power.
4. European champion.
Takinu.
Fischer Takinu, yeah.
Fischer Takinu, yeah. Halunka.
Okay, 6.
How many am I looking for? What's the total?
There's only one left to get.
Oh, Michael Jung. What year? Do I get a year?
2019. The horse was 11 at the time. Delivered a 26.9 dressage test.
Oh, Star Connection.
Well done. That's it. You've completed the Michael Jung at Aachen quiz. How many times has he won Aachen, Nicole?
Twice.
Correct.
Not won it on FischerChipmunk. Do you want to know FischerChipmunk's record in Aachen? Because actually that he has won it, but he won it in 2018 with Julia Krajewski. He's also been second twice, 2019 and 2023, and he was 8th in 2022, which was the year that he missed the flag penalty. Can you remember the missed flag penalty when he went out on cross country, like a massive 65% wind chance sort of thing? But actually, still, there was the drama that we so expect from Aachen now. Missed a flag, was given 15 penalties and cost him the win. It still finished inside the top 10, but yeah, drama.
We're really going off piece without an agenda tonight, but it's actually some of our best work happens like this. I've gotten a list of all the Aachen winners here since 08, because that's the database. But also I've gone into, this is usually the stuff that only, I suppose, GP, but often Sam can do when he's on here. What do you think is the top rated performance from all the winners?
Oh.
So like the HPR, if I was to sort all the winners by HPR. Oh,
I'm going to say,
the range, I'm going to give you some clues. The range is from 88 all the way up to 109, but I'm going to give you a clue. The 2 lowest ones, actually the 3 lowest ones are 2008, 2009, 2010. And that's not really fair because the data, there wasn't enough data in the system basically, so that all the horses didn't have their proper rating. If you get me, because you start on 2008, everyone's sort of on the computer reads them all the same. So it takes kind of 3 years before they all level off. So you kind of need to think 2011 onwards, but like the best ever performance. So it's still plenty of data. You're looking at probably 13 years if you take out the COVID year, 13 competitions.
I'm going to say, so there's 2 years that spring to mind. The first is last year when Yaz won, which I think is, And then the other year is the 2014 year that was won by Opgun Luvo.
Okay, they're both good guesses.
But wrong.
The Aachen 2023 got a 108 HPR.
Oof, okay.
And that is number 3. Yazingham, number 3 in the all-time Aachen greats of wins.
Okay.
Joined with Escada in 2015, also received a 108.
Okay. So who got a 109?
Only one Aachen has been better. Oh, sorry. 2 Aachens have been better. They both got a 109. She's joined second, or no, what's the right way to say? Yeah, she's third, but there's 2 horses joined first.
Okay.
It is Sandra O'Farton Opgun Luvo, delivered a 22.5 dressage, finished on it to win Aachen 2014.
Okay.
Before they went on to win the World Equestrian Games in Caen.
Yeah.
And the other, this is all part of the agenda. It all links back. I knew what I was doing, listeners.
Go on. I know where this is going to go, I think.
It's 2013. It's Chris Burton. Holstein Park, Leilani.
He's also one of the only other riders to have won it twice. So Michael Young, Sandra Orforth, Ingrid Klimke, and Ingrid's won it 3 times. The others have won it twice, but Chris Burton has also won it twice. Won it with under discussion. Oh.
And okay, now this is coming deep from the recesses of my mind, Nicole. People who do you think there's anyone who still listens to the Eventing podcast since the start? Like since like
my
what it used to be the horseware. It used to be called a horseware Eventing podcast.
We used to have that really like psychedelic intro music.
I've actually done some work on the intro music, so I've been messing while the cat's been away. The mice have been well and truly playing.
I'm sure.
But yeah, I haven't actually pressed any buttons on it, but I do think there is some excitement to come, particularly around Paris time, where I think I'm going to use it to reboot, relaunch. We've got like so many podcasts these days. Like the world is just full of podcasts. Back then, it was like me and you talking to. Jesus, Rosa, my heart.
The small child who's just snuck up on D.
You're like something out of The Shining or The Exorcist or something. Come in here. Right, sit down there quietly. Go on, I'm in the middle of a podcast. I'll put your blanket on. Let me just finish this.
You go and put the blanket on, D.
But I'll leave you with this. If I'm not mistaken, Chris Burton said, Knickers, on one of those really early pods, I'm sure, that it was this Holstein Park Leilani run, which I think might have been her last ever run, that was his favourite win of his whole career.
We did a show. I'm sure it was during the year that there was no Aachen, but like
it was the Aachen specials, was it?
Yeah, we did Aachen specials, and we did Chris Burton on the Aachen specials, and we'll relink it in the show, listeners, because he was looking back on to him what makes Aachen so special, and really, I think kind of how he attacks that course and how he uses his cross country speed to its best advantage there. I have got a fun fact for you, actually, because if I just look at Chris Burton's record in Aachen, he has been 9 times. He has been inside the time on 6 of those occasions. That is 6 from 9, listeners. He averages just 1.24 time penalties, which is absolutely extraordinary, especially given the fact that Aachen is particularly tricky to get the time at. And if we're looking at those that have gone inside the time, nobody's made it in the last 3 years. Like, it is a really, really tough time to make. It's twisty, it's turny, it's intense, it's 4-star short, which is always the hardest level of the sport to make the time at anyway. If we go back to the venue cross-country history, inside the time, none in the last 3 years. 3 made it in 2019, 1 in 2018, 5 in 2017, 2 in 2016. So it is really, really tough to make the time. And it actually, if anybody's going to do it this weekend, you just wouldn't put it past Chris Burton. We should know, by the time Aachen comes around, we should know the Australian eventing team for Paris. I don't have any inside knowledge. I think Chris Burton's going to be named on it. And I think actually a fast run round Aachen is going to help him get his eye in, because he isn't doing much eventing these days ahead of Paris. I think he will be going pretty quickly. He rides Clever Louis. Let's start to talk about a few of the big names, Dee. First of all, He's a two-time winner. Can he make history and make it 3 times alongside Ingrid Klipka this year?
Michael Jung. He should.
No, Chris Burton. Sorry,
Chris
on
Burton.
Australia.
Sorry, Chris Burton. Sorry, no, I was listening to that. I thought you were resetting the dial there to back to the favourite. Can Chris Burton make history this weekend and win Aachen? Can he? Let me just take a little look at Clever Louis. I don't have his stats off the top of my head, if I'm being honest. So
Clever Louis, he won the 4 in Stragom. He hasn't run fast. He's jumped double clear on all 3 of his runs with Chris this year. But I mean, going back, he was a Blenheim 9-year-old winner. He was second at Buccolo in 2019. Then he obviously went to Bobby Upton. Janelle Price rode him a little bit. Like, he's back with Chris, who obviously knows him very well. I think the sole aim of campaigning Clever Louis this year for Chris is kind of additional mileage. He's not in contention for an Olympics place with the horse.
He's not that good at dressage, though, is he?
No. Well, that would be the bit that actually, when you start looking at the FischerChipmunks, and there's not as many in this field as we might normally see, but there's some in there that certainly can produce a really, really low score in the first phase. And there'll probably be enough penalties ahead of him that actually they can afford a few time penalties cross country.
His last 2 dressage tests are 28.2 in Stragom, 33.2 in Stragom, 25.8 in a 4-star short in Cronenberg.
That was a very low score in Cronenberg. That was won by Tom McEwen and JL Dublin on 20.9, just to put that into context. But I think, from memory, he was equal second after dressage, I think.
Yeah, added 10 time penalties and finished on 35.8, did the dressage 25.8. I'll be honest, Nicole, even if he's fast, he can't win Aachen if you can't go lower than that. He has a top 5. He's top 5 potential. I think it's very hard to win Aachen. There isn't a possibility, though, as there always is at Aachen, even in the top rated years, where it's not quite carnage. You'd very rarely see multiple falls, and I don't mean it in that sense. Germany, I mean, I think you know this, but Germany's very unforgiving of social, or very, I'd say they were kind of, they were ahead on social license, if that makes sense. There's a kind of social pressure in Germany around horse welfare in a way that is very visual, I think. Is that right? I mean,
there's a real pressure to produce good pictures in the sport all over the world. I would say particularly in Germany, and probably from an earliest time in Germany.
It feels that way, yeah, that there was always more pressure there. So Aachen tends to be somewhere that, and look, also it's 4-star short, but it does tend to have kind of wild enough years. And I don't mean horses on the floor, I mean horses like Bobby.
It's a pressure cooker. It's a pressure cooker. And that's when the wheels fall off. Like you go out cross country and reverse order, it adds a pressure that there isn't normally.
Yeah, but we saw that in Event Rider Masters loads of times, and it didn't always. Like, we saw it in wild places like Wiesbaden, and yeah, maybe we did see good horses having problems, but there's something about Aachen, like they're often the best horses in the world. And you go back to last year and you think, well, maybe we just remember them more. Not sure. But the horses that go for it in Aachen, and you would think Chris Burton will probably be one of those. Because of the intensity of the course, you basically have to. I remember Tim Price said to me, I don't know if he said it publicly. It's not a big thing anyway. Even it's nothing too mental. But I remember him talking to Sam, because he came home at one point with like 5 time penalties a couple of years ago. Aachen's always a cool enough venue because you get to sit, because most of the riders stay for the Sunday jumping anyway, or they certainly all stay until Sunday departure, which means the dressage is actually, or the cross country is actually over, Nicole,
by lunchtime.
Yeah, probably over by 1:00, and then they're actually done. So a lot of them kind of let their hair down and sit and chat and sit around and watch an afternoon of show jumping on the Saturday afternoon in the Riders Bar at Aachen. And I remember Sam saying to Tim there a couple of years ago, being like, what happened? Do you know, like, you came home with 10 time penalties or something, 5-6 time penalties, dropped them 9 or 10 places. That is pricey now in Aachen, Nicole. That is from a prize money point of view. And I remember Tim said to him, you know what it's like. If you lose your concentration out there for a second, and I don't mean in terms of having a mistake, he's just like, if you allow your brain to drift in any way, like to float during the Aachen cross country, the time penalties come and you can't get them back. Now, I don't know if I'm generalizing. I don't know if depends on different years of the course, but I think you can see it in the data with so few people making the time that it doesn't really matter. You'll hear lots of talk about first half of the course or second half of the course or certain combinations or certain parts where you might make some time. But my understanding from listening to them all, you can't really stop thinking out here. You're actually on it from the start to the end. And maybe that will suit a rider like Chris Burton. We've obviously seen multiple times that he has made the time. But sorry, to answer your initial question that you asked about an hour ago, can he win? I don't think he can win.
Okay, let's go on from Chris Burton then. Go back to Germany and just cover a few of the key big German names. FischerChipmunk, Michael Jung, great German record, full stop. I mean, he's won Aachen previously with Julia Krajewski, as we've said, been second twice, 8th with Michael Jung, favourite on the prediction centre. I think he is the most likely winner here this year. I agree with the prediction centre entirely. I'm still, listeners, banging the FischerChipmunk drum. He lost the win in Le Moulin in the German National Championships with the rail down the jumping, but actually has been jumping very, very well. Who else is there, Dee, from a German perspective? When you look at your Sandra Orforths, your Christoph Wohlers, your Dirk Schraders, Julia is back again with Nickel 21. He's one of the horses that actually I think can really make an impact in terms of a kind of just a reminder of don't overlook the Olympic champion heading into another Olympic Games. Who of those stands out as his biggest threat?
A real threat or the next in line? Because the real threat, I don't think there is a real threat. And I don't mean that means he's going to win. Like looking at the data, you're still looking at 20% win chance means 80% chance he doesn't win. So don't get me wrong when I say I don't think any of them are a real threat. When you ask me which of the other Germans are there that are a real threat, I still think actually the competition is the same as it was for Michael in Aachen when he goes there with a 65% win chance. You still have to go Michael against the course. Like, you know, FischerChipmunk, poor old FischerChipmunk. It's FischerChipmunk against the sport, Nicole. Like, he loses Aachen by 0.1 of a mark last year to Banzai. He loses a World Championships on a final rail. He loses an Olympics on a pin. He loses a European Championships to Bobby on a rail. And if Sam's here, he's saying he lost them all. He led them all and lost them all, and you can't trust that horse. Maybe I'm just putting words in his mouth, but he definitely says he led them all and he lost them all.
I think he'll probably say something like he's put himself in that position.
No, that sounds like something that you would expect him to say, but he always says stuff like he's the horse that lost all the championships, like, and go back to Julia in Rio. I think that, go back Julia 2016 in Rio. He leads.
Different horse. It was the Worlds Tryon 2018.
Was it Worlds and Tryon? Sorry.
Worlds and Tryon.
Who was Julia in Rio?
A Samurai Duto.
No way, was it? That horse could have been fantastic. That was a superstar.
He was fantastic.
Yeah, sorry, but he
didn't get his championship chance. To be fair, he came back and won a 5-star, and he was a brilliant horse, but he didn't get his championship chance.
He should have won. He could have won Tokyo, and then actually, luckily for Julia, she still did. Sorry, we're on Nickel, but we ended up talking about Michael. Is there and FischerChipmunk? Can Nickel challenge? Okay, look, if you're being honest, what you would want to see challenging FischerChipmunk and Michael Jung, the two girls behind, the next two girls on the prediction centre, are Laura Collett and Julia Krajewski. If you go back through the years, London 52 and Samurai Duto, was that a Buccleuch 1-2? I think it was. And then
it was.
Amand de Bonneville obviously becomes an Olympic champion and a World Games podium, second or third?
Yeah.
Second.
Second.
While the other lady, Miss Collett, takes 3 5-star wins with London. It is not that. The Capo, good weather, we'll do a low dressage test. I think the speed is a question mark, like the stamina is a question mark. It's not a 5-star, but it's an intense 4-star. Collett's well able, but like, I don't know. I think I not gave out, but I put the Capo as a number 3 once, and I remember their owners being like, you can't be saying that the Capo's number 3. Like, the Capo's record is pretty exceptional, and that's fair. That is fair. It's just that the other 2, I think, at the time,
to be
were
fair,
absolutely
though,
world class.
I would say for De Capo, they very much believe now, and they kind of are keeping him at the level that he loves. He is a 4-star campaigner. They've tried him at 5-star a couple of times. He didn't love it. He loves Buccalo. I imagine he'll go there again at the end of the season and have a great chance of being on the podium, or if not winning it.
He made the time at Buccalo.
He's been second here. He can, he's quite rideable. Laura has nothing to lose. She can go out and absolutely give it her all. I'm just going to go back for a second, because when we're looking at who can challenge Michael Jung, quite frankly, he's head and shoulders above in the first phase in terms of expected scores with FischerChipmunk. His 6 RA is a 21.5. The closest is Nicole 21 on a 25.6. So that's over a rail.
Word of warning. His last 2 dressage tests are not 21, Nicole. They're closer to that 25 mark.
Yes, but I would say Lemoulen was the scoring anyway.
Okay.
That the scoring in Lemoulen was very much that end.
Oh, sorry. 22.9 he did in Lemoulen.
Yeah, and so Lemoulen was a tough scoring weekend. He still got 22.9. So De Capo's a 26. FischerChipmunk is a rail ahead, 10 seconds cross country ahead of the rest of the field. I think he jumps clear. He doesn't actually have to make the time cross country. Takes the pressure off slightly. 10 seconds round Aachen. That's quite a luxury, to be honest.
Should we even watch it?
Yes.
Is he going to win by 10 marks and it actually he actually could, right?
He could just win by 10 marks, but he also could do something totally wild and cause drama. I don't think he will, because it's Aachen.
He has here before.
Yeah, I'm just going to put a couple of other things out there. Sandra Offworth, who's won here twice before, Viamant du Mats, she actually changed the tactics to here slightly 12 months ago. She took Viamant du Mats steady cross country, which actually served her very, very well for her next championship performance, which was one of the horse's next runs when they took individual bronze at the Europeans. I wouldn't be surprised to see her do something similar here, because she should be well on track for an Olympic team selection. She doesn't need to win here to get that, and if that's how the horse prepares best, I'm not going to be surprised. Christoph Waller Cariotan S was the joint fastest cross country here 12 months ago, 1.6 time alongside Yazing and Banzai de Loire, who went on to win. Let's go away from Germany for a second.
Before we do, I think we should talk about Nicole, because I think in that long-winded discussion around the challengers, I don't think we've really touched on Nicole and Julia too much. That is by far the biggest of the German hopes for me. I think it's really interesting to watch Laura and Julia head to head again. And there's a couple of marks to find. There's a little bit of experience to find, but she's so... I think Krajewski is probably the future leader of the sport from a European point of view. Like, I think Laura has the star quality to do it in Britain. There's a couple in the US, and I think from Europe, I think she's the number one, the Olympic champion. So measured in how she talks, so good with horses, the way she takes them through. Like, I mean, this is a non-horse person, but like her work in training, the way she talks about, I think she's a really special person for the sport, and one that we will continue to kind of follow over the next decade. Quite different personality, I think, to Laura in terms of the little bit I know them. But equally, I think they're two of the biggest stars in the sport in very different ways. And I think both of them are kind of maybe out there more than Michael, would you say? Maybe that's not correct. I'm trying to think. Like,
there is, for me, with Julia, there is, and this isn't to say that Laura hasn't faced adversity, because she has in different ways, in her fall back in 2013 and those kinds of situations. There's been others as well. I would say Julia has had some quite high profile adversity that she has risen above and delivered under immense pressure.
I think they actually both have, and I'm not taking it, but I actually think when you say that, the thing that came to me was, you think probably in that case, Julia coming out of the 2016 Olympics was one of the
and
big
then
ones,
the
I guess.
subsequent being disqualified and there being an issue with doping and the horse was contaminated, whatever. But actually, that
Jesus,
that was a big thing, and that came off the back of the Olympics in Rio, and all of a sudden there's this pressure cooker of leading the dressage then in the World Championships in 2018, and then not going on to be able to converse on that. Like
that was that 16, 17, 18 together.
16, 17, 18, and then she comes back. She fights herself a place on the team. She goes to Tokyo on her second string horse that actually wouldn't have even third string. Yeah, okay, wouldn't have even been selected had something not gone wrong for somebody else.
Because Chipmunk had only left her that year. Sorry to interrupt you. But Chipmunk gets taken away. Her top horse gets
then rides
goes
on
to
a
her
team
rival
with that horse, and then she goes to the Olympics and she delivers, and then she comes back to the World Championships in Protoni in 2022, and I think this is probably one of the most underrated. The individual silver is a hard thing to win sometimes because people forget because it's not the gold, and so everybody remembers Yaz Ingham's World Championship victory in 2022. It was amazing. Amanda Bonneville, Julia Krajewski were second that day, and they were brilliant. They were best of the German team. She has come back from a lot in that period, and I think for me she's done it with such grace, such humility, such steel determination. She is unbelievably strong. I think I'll be really, really sad if we don't see her back in Paris to defend her title. I think at the moment,
currently she's not going, isn't that right?
No.
But there's still a little bit to go. It's really interesting when you actually go back through the 2016, 2017, 2018 part of the Julia journey. Like that is as hard and tough as it gets. And as you were talking about them, what Collett goes through at not a too dissimilar a point, like kind of coming back after the fall, and then of course she had like the high profile time around Coto Star as well, where like you had so many people talking about like just Laura generally, like for someone that wasn't seeking out attention at the time, like she was just in such spotlight and like racing spotlight, not her own eventing spotlight, and like that's tough place to be. Both of those, Nicole, I think, without going too far off a preview here, they are the next two in line here behind Jung and Chipmunk. Neither of them are on the superstars that maybe have made their names at different times, but I think we're going to see both of those girls lead the sport over the next 10, 20 years. I think because they have all of the inspirational qualities, they'll be able to talk, they'll be able to manage teams, they'll be able to present the sport in ways when it needs to be, they'll defend, protect the sport in ways it needs to be. Like I think they're huge role models, hugely inspirational. Like I think it is. We're very lucky to have the two of them.
And actually, they're both pretty young still. They're both early 30s. They've both achieved, they've been at the top level for a long time. So they've both achieved a huge amount. But actually, they're both still very much kind of coming into the prime of their careers, essentially.
Yeah, that's true.
Let's go to a couple of the other British combinations, because actually there's some really, really interesting ones to look at. 4 of the top 5 horses in the field in terms of speed are British, actually. And if we're looking at speed cross country, that's something definitely to bear in mind. Emily King, Valmy Bietz, I think, is a fascinating one to look at here, because they started the season with some really very convincing victories at this level, beating some very, very good horses. I mean, if you look at Thorsby Park, she beat the likes of Lordship's Graffalo. She beat the likes of Banzai de Loire, London 52, Islot DHI.
Now, some of them on a prep day.
Yeah, some of them on a prep day, but she still beat them.
She also beat them in the first phase is a bit that I'm interested in.
Yes.
Like they weren't, I think she was up there with Banzai joint first.
She was equal with Banzai, yeah.
Yeah. I got very onto the Valmy Bietz train this year, Nicole. Like I wrote an article about why I thought she was going to win badminton. I went and checked that HPR actually for Torsby at the time, because actually I thought it was going to be something special around Colorado Blue in Austin. And I remember when I saw the Torsby Park HPR, I thought that is the same type of performance that was put up actually by Amanda Bonneville at Saumur, I think, the year before they won the Olympics.
The year of the Olympics.
Was it the year of? Yeah. You're right. Sorry, Olympics in September. Yes. Valmy Biatz. Spike challenged me around the time, and he's not wrong, but I think she had another big coming of age badminton, like a top 5. I think she needed it. I think there was just too much wrapped up in like how hard it must be to be Mary King's daughter. I think she's handled all that so well, but I think she needed this. I think she needed what happened at badminton to happen. And then suddenly you're there. You know what I mean? You can kind of shake it off then. Your association with badminton is not going to be the time she was so nearly home and she came off. Her association with badminton forever on is going to be now a top 5 with Valmy Biatz, like a sub 30 dressage test, a fast, clear cross country. And yeah, they had a couple of rails on the last day, but a lot of people had rails on the last day of badminton this year. It was a very tough, big square show jumping track that led to, not a whole lot of clears, I don't think, in the final group. So yeah, top 5 finish for Valmy Biatz. Whether it is enough to convert into Aachen, the Prediction Centre doesn't think it's like. Prediction Centre has her at 4%. Now that's still next in line behind the big 3. So it's not bad. It's somewhere close to where she was going into the badminton mix. We look at the type of dressage test. Torsby was not an exceptionally low test, but it was her best test of her recent ones. 25.4 at Byrne Market. That 23.2 is the one we're talking about at Torsby. At 30 then at Burley last year. A 24 at Bergam. 24.9 at Bergam. So depending on this field, if she can deliver anywhere around the 25, 26 mark, she should be fine. And she's on a fancy old surface here.
She'll be close enough. Yeah, she'll be close enough, I think. It's an Aachen debut for her, which is interesting. I think it's very, very good exposure for her. She's obviously longlisted for the British team for the Olympics. Wasn't sort of in the final few, but I think she should have a great chance. I'm actually going to stick with the Brits for a second, because Kirsty Chabert is back with Classic. Now, Classic actually has won at this level 3 times. Quite often gets on the ferry over to Ireland and raids all your podiums at the 4-star level, Mill Street, Lisgarvan and the like. However, been to Aachen twice, had 20 penalties twice. Back in 2021, she actually was the one that, I guess, lost the win, inverted commas. And I know, talking to Kirsty about it, I think she's spoken about it on the show, actually. That's the one that's going to stay with her. She had 20 penalties late on in the course, just on the outskirts of the main arena, similar to where we were talking about Laura had had a problem with London a few years before. It's tough to be so close to winning in Aachen and not quite delivering. Now, she then went back last year and had 20 penalties, or was it last year? I'm sure it was last year. Had 20 penalties. Pretty certain jumped up onto a bank and randomly stopped from memory. So it's got to be third time lucky. She's obviously very, very competitive at this level of the sport. Just has got to go against the Aachen form that she's had the last couple of times she's been. But would be certainly very, very interesting as one to watch.
Yeah, I think it's a good shout. I think she needs, what's the right way of saying this? She needs help somewhere from other competitors, because her dressage is going to be around the 30.
Yeah, she's very consistent, but in that territory.
But she's always 30. I mean, that's very competitive, but it's not necessarily Aachen. I mean, I'm counting out Clever Louis, because he's probably at, a 30? And he's...
I reckon he'll go mid-late 20s.
Yeah, fair. But God, coming off the back of a chat about inspirational people, like Kirsty Chabert wouldn't be too far off in terms of the grit, determination, like the getting back up off the ground. I don't mean that literally. Don't think they're falling really ever. But what I mean is, like, you're right. I remember that. Was that Will Coleman's Aachen?
Will Coleman's Aachen, yeah.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah,
that was.
It was brutal. And she, like, I remember when we spoke to Kirsty about it. you could feel the pain of being that close, like not getting over it. Like it was that tough.
You know what it's like talking to Sam. Like they don't forget that stuff. And like to nearly win Aachen is something that doesn't leave you. Like you get your name engraved on a wall.
Yeah, and it happens really quickly, doesn't it, as well? It's like Wimbledon.
It's cool.
Very cool. Very cool. I've got one. This is really interesting. I'm going away from the Brits. I'm just going to throw Izzy Taylor, SBH Big Wall in there as one to watch. Izzy's actually got a pretty good Aachen record. Only been a couple of times, but it's gone pretty well. I actually wanted to go to Australia, who actually I think have a good chance in the SAP Cup. But Andrew Barnett, Go Tosca, over here based with Chris Bartle in the UK for a little while, was fourth at Mill Street, but has brilliant form over in Australia. And, Aachen has been a big target for him, as part of his kind of European campaign. But the bit that I really think is interesting, this horse can deliver in the first phase. He's a really flashy mover, and being on a surface is only going to help him. If you're watching the live stream, Go Tosca is one that actually I think can really start to deliver in the first phase. Has been as low as sort of 22.6 over in Australia, 23.3, has produced some really, really nice tests. Did a 29 in Mill Street, but the test was better than a 29, if I'm honest. And he's a really flashy mover, as I say. So I think he's going to have a very good chance. Obviously going to have to look at the speed cross country. That's going to be a different conversation altogether. But first phase should be well up there. I would go as far as to say he should be best of the Australians for sure.
We spent a lot of time talking about Jung, Collett, and Jung as in Jung rather than Young Collett. We spent a lot of time on Michael, Laura, and Julia. As you go through this, because I want, you started getting in, you're like, I'm going to move away from the Brits. I just want to throw in Izzy. And then I thought, like, that's such a Nicole thing. She's going to have to try and fly through as many of, the greatest hits of Nicole to try and make sure she gets all her favourites in. And then I started scrolling down and I was like, oh, sure, there's no way you're getting through them all. And actually, I said it at the start, like, by the time you get to the end, and I hope this is the same for listeners. I just don't know if it is, but I think it is. From a storytelling point of view, by the time you get to the end of a preview, you're kind of starting to feel it a bit more like I'm starting to warm up now because Nicole, I started scrolling down being like, oh, I wonder who her big hitters that she wants to talk about. We're not going to talk about them all straight away because we can do whatever we want with this. We can take this whatever we want. But I'm just going to start throwing out a few things in terms of the storylines that are starting to bubble up to the surface of this witch's cauldron that we're cooking in. Lara de Liederkirk is here. Right?
I'm still emotional over Lavula. I'm still emotional.
But don't take it as a one-off event. Like, you think what Lara delivered last year. You think of that interview we did. You think about what she put up as stats across all of her horses, across all of the year. She delivered big time in 2023. That 2024 result is not a one-off. It's been coming.
Ducati was top 10 here last year.
Yeah. And there was a big Buccleuch result in there, wasn't there? Off the top of my head, was she second at Buccleuch? Right, we'll come back to that because that one nearly deserves its own thing. But I very much expect the Lara de Liederkirk story is one that gets a lot more airtime this weekend, and it should, because you want to talk about strong, inspirational role models. We interviewed Lara last year. Nicole, was it the famous When Nicole Met, powered by Bedmax?
Yeah, it was this year actually. We looked back on last year quite a lot. Went out, I think, beginning of April, listeners. Okay, so it was kind of the build up and it timed really well. I'm not going to lie, the timing worked out for us very well because it was all quite fresh.
I listened back to it a couple of times. I really enjoyed it as a pod, and it was.
She was so honest.
Well, I just think it was a good story the way she talks about her mother and the truck, and there was times when she said stuff like, was it maybe her uncle or a trainer, I think, had said, this girl needs to give up, basically, because we can't be investing more money in horses for her because she was doing a circle in the middle of a field and all mad stuff. And her mother, I think, stuck with her in a way that was kind of always about Lara and the horses and the journey. And she said, like, I think you asked her, like, were you competitive? And she said, oh, kind of not really until a point, and then she got competitive, and then she had that burning desire to win. And when you begin to unfold narratives like that, which is actually the love of the horse, the love of the sport, a calmness, like Lara de Liedekerke never took all of the glory, even in Belgium. When you think of the superstars there, then you think of the superstars who are all her age in eventing, like her group, like Collett and Julia and all that group of people who are winning and winning and winning. It's actually only kind of coming now. All those years of hard work that she talks about on the pod. 2023, she is exceptional. 2024, she goes and wins a 5-star. 2024, she's at Aachen with 2 horses, and she's living it now. Like, this is what she's worked for.
But that was actually from almost rock bottom in 2022, falling off at the first fence at the World Championships, and just everything going wrong. You know, that kind of story of redemption. And actually, she's got a couple of horses here, Amani Darville and also Ducati Darville. Ducati was top 10 here last year. These 2 are the horses that are kind of her first choice for Paris. And so she's going to see how they go here this weekend before there's a bit of a decision as to which one will go to the games. I think she has a very, very good chance. I've got to sort of get low enough in the first phase. I've just found, 3 combinations, all of which feature with a 1 or 2% win chance.
Right.
That actually, I'm going to throw them out there with a different storyline, because they're all a little bit less obvious. However, they've all won at the level, if not higher. So Felix Vogue, Calero, Le Moulin winners, they're in here. Felix Vogue, selected as part of the Swiss team with Deo de Lucien for Paris. However, this horse went to Stragon for the Nations Cup class. He missed a fence and didn't get his Olympic qualification on his 5-star winner.
Jesus.
That's a tough old thing to come back to. And I think he'll have a bit of a point to prove this weekend. So Felix Vogue Calero is in here. Hallie Kuhn and Cute Girl.
Terrible. All right, Cute Girl, yeah, go on.
Yeah, who are winners at the level already this year, but actually went really well at Buccellé last year, and it didn't quite come off for them. They picked up 20 penalties cross country, but actually it feels like all of the sort of different phases are kind of moving into place. And then the other one I wanted to pick up on is Leah Siegel. And Van Helsing P for Austria. So Leah will go to Paris with, I imagine, DSP Fighting Line, who was 2nd or 3rd in Stragon in the Nations Cup. She's actually had a bit of time on the sidelines this spring through injury. And so the horses have kind of been battling to get qualified and everything else. But actually, she's got those boxes ticked now. Van Helsing P, very experienced, has won at this level previously and is very, very competitive. Probably a little bit off the pace in terms of the first phase, going to be sort of late 20s, 30 mark. However, can put in a very, very quick cross-country round and a bit of a different name that people might not be as familiar with. But she's very, very good, Yes Eagle. And so Van Helsing P is my other ones. They're my 3 kind of slightly off-radar ones to watch.
I love DSP Fighting Line.
Oh, he's so cool. Also
has won already this year as part of that scramble. I think they were 2nd in Stragon, but I think they actually won Barbarossa, Nicole.
DSP Fighting Line, yes. Van Helsing P is the one she's on here.
Sorry, I know that, but I've just I'm actually just talking about how much I love Fighting Line, because wasn't it Fighting Line that we all put up as a dark horse for Tokyo?
Yes,
things like
top
that.
15.
We were on the Fighting Line
train.
Very much so. And I wonder, did they ever really emerge as a less dark horse between now and then?
No, but they've actually, I mean, she's been bubbling away with really good results. She was top 25 with Fighting Line at the World Championships in Protoni. She's been top 20 at Aachen with him. She's a really consistent winner.
That's exactly where we want our dark horses to be, though. I think, like, if you're listening to the Eventing podcast, you probably know DSP Fighting Line. If you're not, I think you probably don't, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
I think they're probably in a place where they're, for anyone who's listening, I think they're in a place where it's good for us to be able to, lean into somebody in a stand in Aachen and be like, see that rider there? She'll be in Paris with a horse called DSP Fighting Line, and remember the name. They'll be a standout.
Okay, I'm going to throw another one in here because a bit of Aachen specialists. Joseph Murphy, Calmaro. A little bit sore, I imagine, from not being selected for Paris. He's been 4th in Aachen previously. He's been top 10 another occasion as well. I think they will come out firing this weekend.
Yeah, let's talk about them. Calmaro.
It's got to leave the show jumps up.
I remember the cheers as they came home a couple of years ago. 23, was it last year? I guess it was.
It would be the best Irish finish in Aachen, I'm sure.
Top 10 last year?
He was 4th. I think that he was 4th a couple of years ago. I'll double check for you. Best Irish finish. Yeah, his 4th place is the best finish from an Irish rider. And that was 2022. And then he was 9th in 2023 as well. Only 3 riders have ever finished top 10 at Aachen. Do you want to have a guess on the other one?
3 Irish riders.
Yeah.
Have finished top 10.
3. So Joseph Murphy's done it twice with Calmaro. Somebody else was 9th.
I hate quizzes. They expose
It was 2021.
2021. I think Aoife Clark didn't have enough going on in 2021. I'm going to go with Isop.
Yes, Azure. There you go. Finished 9th.
Yeah, Isop. Yeah, cheese quality as well. Chabert can do a good dressage test. Like they did a 27.3 at Bramham.
Yeah, he looked good at Bramham. Actually, I watched his test at Bramham and I watched his test at Mill Street the week before.
Why didn't they go? Is it just the jumping? Is that why they're not going to Paris? Is it the jumping?
We're getting into Irish team selection, which we probably
let's
do,
go there.
But let's go there. I would say that he was best of the Irish, I think, in Harada at the Europeans. I'm just going to double check best of the Irish. Yes, best of the Irish in Harada at the Europeans.
Second highest ELO, only behind Colorado Blue on ELO.
Yeah, he. To be fair, his campaigned the horse pretty lightly this spring. Went to Kronenberg, jumped clear cross country, but had 3 down in the jumping.
It's 3 down in Mill Street. It's 3 down. It's 3 down in Mill Street, Nicole. That does it, isn't it?
Yeah, and then he came out and jumped at Bramham and had 1 pole down. Put in a relatively solid cross cut. He didn't go sort of flat out, but he was 7.2 time. He certainly, I think, could have gone quicker, but perhaps chose not to put everything out there. I'll be honest, I was really surprised that he wasn't in the Irish team for the Olympics. I thought he would be. Even with those rails, I really thought he would be in the squad.
I don't think there's any soundness thing that we don't know about, but there could be. Like, I don't have any access to know anything about the veterinary side, but I've no reason to believe there's that in there, no. But there could be. And you have to kind of say that out loud when you're talking about performance, insofar as if it's something like that, then maybe it's just information that we don't have. But like top 10 at Kentucky on a, jumped clear at a 5-star final day, Kentucky 2022. They did have 3 down at Mill Street and they did have 3 down at Kronenberg both this year.
They're outliers.
But in fairness, they are outliers. And just because the 2 of them happened in 2024, I mean, you could equally say there's a 27.3 dressage, which is a bit of an outlier as well, and that most of the dressage from the last 10 runs is somewhere between 30 and 33.
He's very consistent in that 30 to 33.
Yeah, but they don't really make cross-country mistakes. They're not that slow cross-country. I mean, they're not that fast cross-country either, but I don't know.
They're not slow, though. 11 seconds over the time in Aachen isn't slow. That's
definitely not slow. I suppose I was looking at more like the Harastapan, Kronenberg ones, but
Harastapan was 16.4 time. Don't forget that day was complete chaos.
Yes, yeah, because you're right, finished 12th that day.
Yeah.
Maybe the Kronenberg. Is the Kronenberg one just
Well, I would have said at the start of the season he had 3 down and he chose not to go flat out cross country. He just decided to give the horse a nice steady run to start the season. I genuinely thought he would be in the team. I was really surprised. Really surprised.
Yeah, I think he's right to feel disappointed though when you look at this form. I don't think he wins Aachen. Okay, I don't think we're looking at that kind of level of redemption here. again, because I think the dressage on a good day creeps into the 30s, but I don't think you're able to take on the big guns on a 30 dressage. But I tell you what I'd like, because the owners are nice people, and the whole Joseph Murphy team, he's a real family person. He's a kind person. And he actually had, like, he was a big part of the championship teams when I was there initially, or like when I was getting going in eventing. He would have been...
he was in London.
Yeah, and he was in World Games 2014 as well, I think, was he?
I think so.
He's
Electric Cruise era.
Yeah, Electric Cruise. Geez, they were good years. He's a sound, kind fella who's put his heart and soul into the sport, and it has... I think he's been a bit hard done by here, if I'm honest. I think he's right to feel disappointed. Look, it is sport, and at some point you just got to say, like, there's a few people that are going to feel that way, and like from our point of view, we can't talk about them on every show because it wouldn't be great to listen to if we just kept going on about the near misses and the disappointments. But in terms of the stories that are bubbling under here, I don't think this fella goes and wins Aachen in the same way as I don't think Emily King goes and wins Aachen. But I do think that they could deliver something very special for them, for that team around them. What I mean by that is like anywhere in the top 10, I think it would be a decent if they could just keep it to one in a big old show jumping arena, because if they can get a 30, if they can go into the cross country something below 35 or even 36, 37, they give it a right crack at finishing somewhere near the top 5. And that would be a big day to finish in the top 5 in Aachen, maybe top 8. He's a good lad. The owners are great. It would be very special. It'd be a big old redemption, wouldn't it? It'd be great to look back and say,
imagine. It'd be a big old point to prove, yeah. I mean, in his two Aachens, he had a rail last year when he went on to finish 9th, and he was clear in 2022 when he went on to finish 4th.
So he's had that top 5. Yeah, you're right.
I've just mentioned that. Really fun fact for you. Just because I saw this, listeners, and you might be interested by it as well. I was just doing some good old Joseph Murphy stalking. Mighty nice. Philip Dutton's individual bronze medalist from the 2016 Olympic Games in Rio was originally produced by Joseph Murphy. Took him to Lilian as a 6-year-old. There you go. Something you didn't know.
Well, me and you are working on that secret William Fox Pitt project.
Yes.
Part of that, I was doing the working pupils of William Fox Pitt and like people who work in the art. Tom McCune, Laura Collett,
I bet somebody like Sinead Halpin. Okay, yeah.
These are just
Harry Mead. Harry Mead did, didn't he, for a while? Yeah.
And Joseph Murphy.
Really?
And if I'm not mistaken, he spent a year with Michael, or certainly a long period of time with Michael Young, and they are very close. Michael Young. He
bought chocolate. He's taking chocolate for the ride and drive. In fact, listeners, if that's one thing for Aachen this weekend that you
he is not taking chocolate in a ride and drive, is he?
I'm sure he is. I'm sure I saw him on the entries. You need to go and need to watch Saturday evening, the ride and drive, which is quite frankly hilariously chaotic. One of my favourite things is Michael Young sprinting across the main arena. Andrew Hoy always does it as well. It's just brilliant entertainment. Go and watch it. I do my own little commentary at home for even Oliver watches the ride and drive, and I commentate on it together. It's very, very sweet.
Yeah, I'll give you a funny little fact about the ride and drive. Do you think Andrew and Steffi will actually listen this far into a show?
Well, we're about an hour and a quarter in. Who knows? But imagine they do, just in case you're going to... I don't know where you're going with this.
Steffi told me.
This is Steffi Hoy. Okay.
Steffi, Andrew's wife, told me that Andrew loves the ride and drive so much that he wants to win it. And he spends a good bit of time ringing around, making sure that... So you got to be... If you want to win the ride and drive, you got to be with Boyd Excel. Okay.
Who's Australian, so surely he's got an in there.
Right, so he's got an in there already.
Yeah,
okay?
Yeah.
So Andrew and Boyd Excel, they've both been at the top of the sport for such a long time now. They both know each other well. They both always want to be on the ride and drive team together. So to make sure that happens, even though I think it's meant to be a random draw, they always somehow randomly end up on the same team. But they then basically have to, between the two of them, find the next person, the show jumper. And like, apparently they're ruthless. Like, they're like, no. And everyone's like, it's just a ride and drive. And they're like, absolutely not. Get someone good. And they usually do win, but they usually win because they make sure that, there's no messers allowed. They don't have fun. They win. Anyway, that's ride and drive. let's move on from Joseph. But I'll be cheering for Joseph Murphy more than I've ever cheered for Joseph Murphy. I don't mean that in a bad way. I've never not cheered for Joseph Murphy, but I have a little something extra this weekend. And not actually, I don't mean that in a way that would be kind of critical of Team Ireland. I mean it more, Nicole, in a way which is, I hope for him that he can get that little bit of personal satisfaction that you get from not getting something. I remember happened to Sam a little bit at London, and I always just, you want it for them, you want it for their personal pride, close a chapter on it. And anyway, I'll be giving him a little extra cheer, Joseph. I was surprised that you didn't mention someone who we mention on every show, I guess. Shanro Cooley's here for Liz Halliday.
Yeah, actually. So the US team is an interesting one. Liz Halliday, Shanro Cooley. She was meant to be bringing Mixed Master C, but he, I think, didn't feel quite right after the final team mandatory outing, and so she elected to leave him at home. Shanro Cooley, I think, is a horse that we probably recognise most. He, as a young horse, has just been absolutely phenomenal. Was top 10 at Le Lion as a 7-year-old. Loads of placings. Isn't overly experienced at 4-star. This is going to be one of his sort of first big tests, but was top 10 at Kentucky this spring. 4th in Tryon in the 4-star long format, which was won by HSH Blake, Caroline Pomichku. So good, really, really good young horse. Not sure he's, if Liz and Mixed Master C were here, then there would be a whole different conversation going on about, who can get close to Michael Young in the first phase, etc., etc. But he is a very decent horse, probably not quite as low in the first phase as a couple of her others.
Yeah, that's fair. She hasn't had a great. She had good last year. She had highs and lows at Aachen, Liz. She loves it there, but she has had highs and lows there.
She went well last year. The US team last year, if we could talk about the SAP Cup for a second, because the US team last year had 3 in the top 6, and they still didn't win the team competition. And I think they were frantically doing maths going, but how haven't we won?
I was with you. It was Eric Duvander was beside me, and we had the laptops out in that lounge, and he was standing beside me, and he's like, do it again. I was like, you're second. He's like, do it. It just doesn't make any sense. You can't have this many, you can't be second.
They were second. Yeah. I've got a fun quiz for you. Okay, so since 2007, the SAP Cup has won, which is kind of a team competition, listeners. It's not a Nations Cup, but it's best 3 of 4. It's very kind of traditional team format. It's really
kind of is the Nations Cup, isn't it? You just do not want to call it the Nations Cup.
The SAP Cup. 4 different nations have won it.
Okay. Well, Britain.
Who are they?
Well, Britain are one.
Yep.
They
won it in 2022, 2021, and they won it in 2011.
Well, obviously the Germans.
Yep, they have won quite a lot, to be quite frank. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. They've won about 11 of them.
Okay. Yep. Now, this is where it gets good. Have the US ever won it?
Nope.
Okay. Thank you. I was going to ponder that for a little bit longer. Of the powerhouse nations, you would expect the French. If there's 4, you'd have to say the French might be here.
Nope.
Oh, now we're getting good. All right, the powerhouse, big 6. We've already counted 3 of them. There's only 3 to go. So obviously one of the teams has to be the Aussies.
Yep, 2016.
2016. Okay, the Aussies. The next powerhouse team has to be the Kiwis.
2018.
Do you think they'll come back, the Kiwis?
Yeah, I do. I'd say
the team was just announced before we started recording, wasn't it? Or some of them?
Yeah, so the team Clark Johnstone, Menlo Park, Janelle Price Hirado, Tim Price Falco. We'll see Tim and Girillo, who actually listeners will know that I'm a big fan of Girillo. Fairly surprised I haven't kind of banged the Girillo drum to this point in the podcast, but he is getting very, very competitive. He was on the podium at Blenheim 8 and 9-year-olds last year. He went well at Buccleuch, went well at
He could have easily gone ahead of
to Paris. Yeah, he could have gone to Paris. I think they said to Tim, who are you taking? And Tim went with Falco, who, to be fair, won an individual bronze at the Worlds.
I don't know, Nicole, if that is what happened. I think you're just making that up. I think they'd say to Tim, who would you prefer to take? I think his opinion could count, but I don't think they said, Tim, who do you take? And then he said, just in case people think that's actually how that team was picked, I can confirm that is
No,
not
it was
the
a
case.
bit more. It was a bit more specific than that.
Just the way
But
you
they'll
said it
take
with
a
such authority.
No. They'll take a rider's opinion.
Tim, who are you taking? And he said Falco. And you know what? Why do we even have? Why do we even have Jock Badger here? What are they doing?
They take the rider's opinion into account. So they've got Senor Crocodillo, Janelle Price, Caroline Powell, CBI Oldo, which will be really interesting. He's a really smart young horse. Will be good exposure to him for this kind of competition. And Ginny Thomason, Capitan de Us, is here as well. I love saying that horse's name, Capitan de Us. And Lauren Innes, Global Vision M, is also heading out for the Kiwi team. I feel like, Dee, are there any other names on the list that you would like to mention? We haven't mentioned Sam Watson, Ballyneety Rocketman, the Mill Street 4-star long winners, but Sam is back.
Guess what?
What?
I was doing the form guide today.
Okay.
The eventing one.
Yeah.
I've got a lot of form guides this weekend because obviously we do the jumping at Aachen as well. So there's a form guide every day for every 160 plus a Mercedes-Benz Nations Cup for jumping plus then the SAP Cup. So we are flat out on form guides. I was doing like Maria does all the covers, all the superstar covers, and on the cover of the 2024 edition, which I always think is quite a nice thing to get to be a cover.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
it might,
cover boy, cover girl.
Cover boy, cover girl. I don't think it's really it's not a thing yet, but maybe it will be someday. Like to get the cover page, I think is good because that's usually prediction center leaders and that kind of thing. But anyway, Michael Young was actually was his cover star last year, and I said to Maz, I was like, do you think it would be outrageous to put Sam maybe as on the cover? And she was like, well, like it is usually the prediction center leader. And I was like, yeah, that is true. But because he's an SAP rider and it's the SAP Cup and he will wear the head cam and he will do the video round after. And I've got a 3-time 5-star winner who's got loads of covers as number 2. And I've got an Olympic champion who's got loads of covers coming out her ears as number 3. I've got, Valmy Beats, Emily King, number 4. They've all got covers. So would it be outrageous to make Sam Watson the cover? And they were like, look, if that's what you want, we could do it. And I had to take a breath for a minute and I was like, am I doing,
Please tell me you did it.
Well, I won't be doing it, but I have to help, have to ask if the team will do it because they do it. But I said, Nicole, yeah, that's what I want.
I love this. Now, I also love that Sam.
That doesn't mean it'll happen.
Totally
that doesn't
oblivious.
Mean he might not like it. He's funny fish like that. Sometimes he might thank me in years to come, or else he'll be like,
he'll thank you after Aachen, probably.
He might not.
He won't like you before.
He actually doesn't really care about that stuff, to be honest. But I actually think it is a nice thing to. I think it is a nice thing to be on the cover. Anyway, if you see the Aachen form guide, and I hope you do, please do. God Almighty, please open it, thumb your way through it, read the stories. It will help. I'm doing this thing, Nicole. If you invest 2 minutes in learning about something, you enjoy it so much more. Yeah, so if you actually just flick through the form guide, or 2 minutes. We're an hour and a half into the podcast.
I was going to say they've invested more than 2 minutes into.
Okay, but now, right? Think where we are now. At the start of this, I said, "Oh, Nicole's not an Olympic field. What are we going to do?" And actually, now you've got like Joseph Murphy redemption. You've got Lara Lidekirka, in the prime of her life. You've got 2 of the most inspirational women in the sport in Collett and Krajewski, 2 and 3. You've got Emily King, future superstar, and coming off the back of a big badminton. You've got Chris Burton coming into eventing for a year, and this is it. This is the home, the place that made him. Holstein Park, Leilani, under discussion. If you want to go to one of the toughest cross country places in the world, be with the fastest rider in the world. You're looking at the Olympic champion, Nicole, for 2024, and the horse that kept giving away all those championships all the years along, but went to Paris in 2024 when everyone was looking at Lordship's Graffalo, everyone was looking at London 52, and actually the man who stayed, the horse that stayed, the horse that can do a sub-20 dressage, can jump and can do cross country, is about to lay down the biggest marker and win Aachen by 5, 6, 7 marks, and then go to Paris with his chest out, and all those Brits are going to have to challenge him. But this is the story now that we have. Like Jung, it's not redemption. It's the chance to puff out your chest, be a 3-time Aachen winner, and say, sure, Nicole Brown on the Eventing Podcast and Byrne on the Eventing Podcast, they are talking about London 52, Banzai de Loire, and Lordship Scrafalo. But they ain't seen nothing in terms of what a FischerChipmunk test is. A FischerChipmunk cross country round, FischerChipmunk show jumping. Like, this will be what he's going to deliver there, and then roll into Paris. So now I think we're in.
It's exciting. Okay, right. I'm gonna say let's talk podiums for a second. So podium individually, first of all, and a dark horse, and then we'll do a team podium as well, because I think that's a really interesting angle. So, do you want me to go first, or are you going to
go? I'm happy for you to go first.
Okay, Michael Jung, FischerChipmunk. Michael Jung, FischerChipmunk FRH win.
Yeah, but by how much? By how much? If you're going to pick him to win, we need
5 marks.
On what score ish, just for the crack?
25.
No one else goes below 30. He wins on a 25. Where does he leak all those marks?
He does an early 20s dressage, like a 22 point something, and then just has a few time penalties cross country, because he doesn't need to chase the clock. Okay, so Michael Jung, FischerChipmunk FRH win. I think in second is going to be Julia Krajewski and Nicole 21. And third, I will say Emily King and Valmy Biatz. And my dark horse is actually going to be Leah Siegel, Van Helsing P.
Yeah, really good. I really like it. I always think it's a great opportunity not to pick the same people. So I'm not going to pick the same people for the most part. But I do think...
If you say Michael Jung wins, then you just have to give me by how many marks as well.
Well, I think he will win, but I think he'll win sub 20. I think he'll absolutely obliterate this thing.
And how many marks do you think he'll win by?
I think he could win by 8 marks.
Oof.
I think he's going to win Paris, and I think he's going
Hang on a second. Rewind.
I know.
Less than a week ago, you have worked your way through 3 horses in the last 3 shows, and
I
you have said...
I can't stop, Nicole. I think I'm addicted to picking new people. I think I'm going to be like, going to be at an...
we'll be able to find a soundbite, won't we, of you saying, because you'll have said them all at some point.
Oh, it's actually ludicrous. But you know what? The fun of it is they are all well able. I think the biggest challenger is Banzai, and I think the biggest...
Hang on a second.
That's surely what I said last week, is it?
No, it's not.
What did I say last week?
I'm sure you were on the London 52 train last week.
No. Look, people have put me up on this, but I'm pretty sure I said the biggest. I think Banzai is the world.
I think you might have said that at some point, but I'm pretty certain.
No, I've definitely said it at some point.
You've definitely. Anyway, go on. Here's your podium. So Michael Jung wins on a sub 20 by 8 marks.
That's what
and you thought I was being bold. Okay, go on then. Who's second?
I think Kilcandra Ocean Power comes second.
We get a 1-2.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
I
go on. Yeah.
They're going to be dancing in the aisles.
Okay. Third.
It's another German. No, sorry, it's not. It's not. I haven't mixed up her nationality. I was going to pick my dark horse in number 3, but I'm actually going to change it. I'm going to put Lara de Liedekerke Meyer in at number 3.
Which horse? Ducati or Hermione?
I'm going to put in Ducati Darville at number 3.
Okay. And dark horse?
I'll tell you what I'm actually getting the most fun of. The dark horse category. And if I had an option, I was going to ask, but I knew you'd say like that's a silly thing to say. I was going to say, could I not pick a 2 and a 3 and pick 3 dark horses on top of my win? I love Alyssa Phillips and Oscar. I think I've actually put them up, I think recently, maybe the Mill Street show, I think I put them up for a big performance. Yeah. I absolutely love with a capital L, I love Jerome Rabin and Black Ice.
Okay, yeah.
That's who I was going to put in my number 3. I think Jerome Rabin will be in the top 5 here with Black Ice. Keep an eye on that. We've talked about Joseph Murphy. We haven't talked about Austin O'Connor and Izaza. That horse can do dressage, can't it? I'm pretty sure that horse has delivered somewhat.
Yes. I mean,
sounds like that means it sounds like you're saying no, but you're actually saying yes, but you mean no. Is what that sounds.
I don't think she's sort of. I mean, she did a 27.8 at Bramham, which was a personal best, but generally speaking, early 30s.
Okay, yeah.
So yeah, can do.
I'm laughing just at you. Can do dressage like an event horse. Like
I mean,
it's the same as Calmaro. It's between 30 and 33.
Yeah, probably.
It's actually almost identical to Calmaro.
Yes, agree.
Isn't it? 30 to 33.
Yeah.
Who do you think will be ahead after dressage? Calmaro for Justin Murphy?
Calmaro.
Or you do?
Yep.
Okay, well done. You're picking things today. All right, I'm going to leave it just at 2 then. I'm going to go Oscar and Alyssa Phillips and Jerome Rabin, Black Ice. They're my 2 dark horses. Little special, tiny little candle of hope for my friend Samuel.
And the top 3 teams in the SAP Cup?
Germany will win.
Yeah.
Britain will come second.
Okay.
And I suppose listeners are kind of like doing that Alan Partridge shrug at the moment about the who cares. But I think it'll be... I'm only delaying because I don't know, not because I'm... I think it'll be the Kiwis third.
Okay. I think that Germany will win. Going to say Australia will be second, and the Brits will.
Do you want to do a bet around your love, Andrew Barnett, versus my love, Jerome Rabin? Who finishes higher? The loser.
Right.
The loser has to allow the other one to send an Instagram message to that person from the other one.
I was just looking at Black Ice's. I mean, Black Ice was 7th at the Europeans.
He's quality.
He's on home soil.
He's quality. Like, go and make the bet. But you did really go hard on. You said he was going to be the best of the Aussies.
Do you know what? I mean, what's the worst that can happen? You're going to send Andrew Barnett a message about how much I love him. It's fine.
I could say I don't know what I'm going to say. I could send him that picture of you doing the Gatcombe cross country commentary 2016.
For anybody who hasn't heard about that story, they're going to be very suspicious right now. Yeah. I mean, sure, I'll take that bet. Why not?
Let's do it.
Come on, Andrew Barnett.
Jerome Rabin, come on, young man.
Use the Bartle magic. Right, on that note, Dee, you're going to Aachen. You've already said loads to look out for from an Echo Ratings perspective. There are going to be form guides. We will link them in the show notes to this episode, news.echoratings.com if you want to go and find them. Please follow the Echo Ratings socials across the weekend as well, because there'll be loads of behind-the-scenes content. There'll be lots and lots and lots of insights and stats and stories that you will not want to miss out on. Eventing Manager is back. The market is open. I've picked my team. I'm quite pleased with my team. I'm not going to.
Yeah, everyone seems quite pleased with their team. Like, I've seen a lot of people on Instagram.
I was pleasantly surprised by my budget. My team is Hallie Kuhn, Michael Young, Chris Burton, Sandra Orforth.
Nice.
Yeah, very pleased with that. Was amazed I could afford them all, but I could. Basically, stay tuned because there is loads going on, and we hope that you enjoy Aachen as much as we will. I will be with everybody in spirit. I'm doing commentary, but I'm doing it from home, so I don't get quite the full Aachen experience. It's just me in my office.
But you're still the commentator.
Yeah, and last year it was the best call I did all year in terms of the most fun. It was brilliant. And I went downstairs afterwards. My office is upstairs in our house. And Oliver said to me, listeners, he said, you sounded like you got quite excited during that. I was like, well, yeah, because it was dramatic. A lot went on. So there'll probably be more of the same. Anyway, Dee, enjoy Aachen. Send us a selfie.
Thank you. I will. You'll see me. I'll be on. Yep, I'll be on.
Are we going to get the Aachen weatherman reports? There's
a really big recommitment, without ending the pod on a serious note. There's a really big mission piece going on in Echo Ratings at the moment as to what we're here for and why we're here. There's a lot of soul searching going on by myself and Sam. And I expect you will see, that's what I'm kind of touching on when I say, like, basically in life, there's nothing for free. If you can't understand or enjoy eventing, and you don't ever read anything about it or listen to anything or look at it, you don't listen to commentators, it's really hard, but like, it's also really hard to help. So if you listen to a pod or you listen or you share something on socials or you read the predictions at anything, it can be so small, then you get the idea. And eventing manager is a really good example of it. Can we help people to care about the sport? And that's our mission. And that's the same for jumping. It's the same for anything that we're going to do from now on. Can we connect people with the sport they love? Can we help them follow it? Can we make it easy? People don't know what's going on half the time. Like, we don't know enough about black ice. But actually, as you say, like top 10 in the championship. I think that's our goal. So yeah, you'll see me on Weatherman, but we've come a long way since those initial Weatherman, but the concept hasn't changed. When we started this an hour and 40 minutes ago, the feeling was, yeah, I'll be all right by the end. It'll be class by the end. And I feel that way now. But somehow over the course of the next 4 days, I have to bring that to everybody. I have to make sure that somehow, okay, they're not going to, you do it well on commentary. People aren't going to give us all an hour and a half to talk about a preview. So you might only get them, Nicole, while they're on the commentary. You might only get them on the Saturday. They're not bothered with watching Ducati Darville ride a dressage test. But maybe you'll get them for 2 minutes, split screen with some other rider on Saturday morning. And that is your chance to say, this Lara Liederkirch story is a story you have to follow. And you're very, very good at that. And that's what our job is at Equirates. So yeah, I'll be on front of camera. I'll be on pods. I'll be doing digital magazines. I'll be doing all the press conferences. I'm recommitting. I'm going to give it my heart and soul for another couple of years and see if I can actually make everyone feel this thing, because it's an unbelievable thing. And if you feel it, then, jeez, it gets very good. Imagine what it'll feel like to watch Joseph Murphy and Kilmaro if they're actually sub 38 going in there. Like, it'll be class. They've got a good shot at this. That's what I want to get to.
I'd say he's going out with a point to prove, and I think there'll be a few people like that. I think there's so many underlying stories. There's so many different angles that you could take, and I think you hit the nail on the head. If we can make people care, then what greater feeling is there? Because ultimately, you know, we love this sport. We want other people to love it, but we want other people to get the same enjoyment and to follow the different lines of the story. There's loads of different chapters that make up the eventing book, and the eventing book at a competition as well. So look, enjoy it, embrace it, follow along. Please like and share. If you listen to this podcast, tag us in your stories. We would love to see where you listen from. Share the form guides, all of those things. They do make a real difference. So we'll leave it with you, listeners. There we go.
Like the end of we're like the end of Titanic. An hour and 45 minutes. We're like, is there anyone alive out there?
My voice literally just went. I was like,
blow your whistle.
Right. On that note, whistle is blowing, listeners. Enjoy CHIO Aachen 2024 and stay tuned for all of the content that is coming your way. Sam Lissington, are you ready to take on Fairfax and Favour's quick fire questions?
Ready.
Okay, let's go. What is your favourite meal?
My favourite meal is probably a platter of any description.
What is the best piece of advice that you have ever been given?
Probably a Winnie the Pooh quote, which says, sometimes the only means of travel is a leap of faith.
Oh, I love that. That's great. What is your go-to Fairfax and Favour boot?
Definitely the Rockingham, and I've got it in mahogany, which I've found is great because actually I can wipe off the dirt and the mud and give the leather a nice oil and they look good as new.
Sam Lissington, thank you for playing Fairfax and Favour's Quickfire Questions.
Thanks for having me.